Thanks. Mm.
Oh, something's wrong. Something's wrong. No! Sing the song. Sing the song. Ba-boom. All
I don't hear the music. I don't hear the music. I don't know what to do.
I made a mistake, Daryl.
All right.
I made a mistake.
Well, welcome to the Meeple Syrup Show, everyone, where designers discuss design. We're on episode 85, I think. I don't know. The screen went so fast. I can't even remember, but
I turned it off in shame.
Episode
85.
That's awesome. Well, we have the best intro for the best show. Best intro for the best show. We have not only myself and Sen, but we have Tiffany here, who's somewhere in Germany, I believe in Frankfurt.
Sort of, yeah.
Sort of. And she's on her way to Essen, so we will be talking a little Essen, but we won't be with Tiffany because she's got to like jet lag and figure food out and all that kind of stuff. But don't worry, she'll be out getting games. And specifically, she'll be getting a bunch of games for our other host, Susan Sheldon.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. We're very excited to have you back.
Oh, it's so awesome to be back on. Love you guys. And so excited for today's show.
So one thing that's new for anyone who, I don't know, doesn't know the Dice Tower, which would be shocking, is Suzanne has been doing a bunch of stuff for the Dice Tower since the last time you were here. You're big time now. Can you tell our viewers about all the stuff that you're doing over there now?
Just keeping busy making content. I'm still talking about board game apps a lot, which I love, and there's some really great ones out right now. But I also started in this year doing the crowdfunding segment. So I get to look at Kickstarter and Indiegogo every day, looking at the wide variety of game offerings there and talk about them on the show. And I continue to do kind of thematic segments for Z Garcia's show, Board Game Blender. And I'm starting to do some game, like little mini game overviews for some games that are maybe a little less common. I just did one for a game called Tarot Storia, which is a lovely little Japanese solitaire game that Osprey Games, actually, I just found out picked up and is going to release. So I'm super excited about that. Yeah, but it's been busy, but a lot of fun.
Hey, just speaking of Osprey Games, where are they actually from? Because I see them in chapters, Daryl.
Yeah, no, I got my the submarine game of theirs in a chapters.
It's very odd.
Yeah, no, they're super nice. I chatted with them at Gen Con because they were giving a preview of Coldit's
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know, they're a book publisher. That's how they started.
Right.
So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me to hear that they're in chapters.
Yeah. What was the name of the game you just mentioned? Justin Farr wants to know. Oh, Tarot Storia?
Tarot Storia. It's simply gorgeous. It's just the art is phenomenal. And you can check out my little 5-minute overview of it on the Dice Tower's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Anyway,
going on to other things. Tiff, what's going on with you in Frankfurtopia? Is that where you're at?
Frankfurt, yeah. We were doing like a little 1-year anniversary-ish trip to Amsterdam. And then we just got off the ICE, which is the high-speed train, coming back from Amsterdam back into Germany. So we're doing a night in Frankfurt because cheap hotels.
And why
tomorrow,
not?
Yeah, well, and tomorrow we'll head to Essen proper.
Right, if you have the transit pass, it doesn't really matter that you stop.
We didn't get the transit pass because to take the ICE to Amsterdam and whatnot didn't make sense. Like we're literally just taking one regional train to Essen and then back to the Frankfurt airport, which is where we flew in from to, because there's a direct from Seattle. So yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So we're here. We're excited. We were trying not to get any games before we got to Essen, and then we totally failed at that.
OMG, Tiff. OMG.
Yeah, it's the Dutch version of Oh My Goods, and while we already own Oh My Goods, I saw this on the shelf, and I was like, I have to get it. I just can't not get that.
That's awesome.
So basically, you're saying that you're giving up one of Suze's slots.
Yeah.
In Steve's bag.
Uh-oh.
We're just gonna roll a die, and one of Suze's games just don't get to come home.
That's a great game. I love that game.
I don't like this game.
I like this game a lot.
Can we make that on video?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
no.
every day I'll be like, this game has to go.
And I'm just weeping. Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for your support. Don't we have like important people to talk to?
That's a good
yeah.
point. So on that note, sorry, Tiffany. I guess you're
That's
cut.
fine. I'm gonna go have a free beer in the lobby of my
Yeah,
hotel
go
that
have some
apparently
beer.
has free high-speed
That's-
Wi-Fi.
That's
There
very
you
German.
go.
Very German of
We
you.
will miss you, Tiffany. Say hi to
See you,
Steve
Tiff.
from us.
Tell,
Bye. Have a
tell
great
Steve,
show.
tell
Love
Steve that he
you.
missed a good episode last night, and that we'll have him on next week for the dojo.
Yes, we're gonna watch it here over dinner. So yeah.
Please.
There you go.
Let me know.
Okay. Bye.
All
And
right.
now I gotta welcome our wonderful guests. We have Theo Riviere from Repos Games,
Hello.
Hi.
and we also have Bruno Cathala, the wonderful designer who works with many people, including Repos. Welcome to the show, Bruno.
Bruno, you're muted. Oh, he's still muted. Oh, there he goes. It's
Try
a
again.
technical.
Hey,
Hey, bonjour.
bonjour.
Ça va bien?
Super.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
enough
good.
of that French for all our non-French fluent people like me who didn't pay attention in all my French classes. We're glad you're here, and we got to start off with some of the quote-unquote formalities with Essen coming up and everyone being so excited about it. We got to talk a little bit about Essen games, what's coming out, and then also some tips. I'm going to actually jump to Theo first and ask what's the big Repos game that everyone's got to get? What games will be at the Repos booth at Essen?
For us, it's very easy because we got one big release, each Essen. For this year, it's Seven Wonders Duel first expansion.
Mm.
It's called Panthéon. I don't know how to pronounce it in English, but Panthéon, the same word. So that's the first expansion for Duel, and it's all about gods. So it's a new way to play Seven Wonders Duel. It brings back some new strategy, some new cards, gods cards, and that's our big deal for this SM.
Exciting.
We also have one expansion for Cash and Guns called Team Spirit. It had been released during Gen Con this year, but we still have it.
Well,
for
Will you have
SM.
Nirvana playing? Well, as a connection to Sue's Teen Spirit? No dice. All right.
I think the Nirvana joke was a little bit of a stretch.
My bad. My
Stretch.
bad. That's the first thing I think of. Anyway, sorry. Grown up on Nirvana.
And we still have some Dr. Panic to show and to demonstrate to the people who don't know the game yet. So
Excellent.
that's our three big stuff. But
Good.
Panthéon will be our only release for this year.
Right.
Well, that's a really awesome docket of games or expansion. Really, I'm so excited for the Seven Wonders expansion, the dual expansion. I can't wait to get my hands on it. But Bruno, you have almost that many games coming out as in yourself, right? What's
I have 6 games which will be released
Wow.
for. In fact, it's not
a lot
really
of
6
games.
new games. It's 4 games and 2 expansions.
Oh well, then that's
sure.
that's that's
That's
reasonable.
horrible. That's horrible.
So tell us
So
about them.
Do you want me to do the list?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
So for sure, one of my biggest release will be the Panthéon expansion for Seven Wonders Duel. But I will also have a very familiar domino game, which is being called King Domino, which will be released by Blue Orange. I also have a game with Yellow, which is named Kanagawa.
Right.
And what is fun is that when I signed the game, Theo was working with Yellow. I presented the prototype to him, in fact.
There you go.
So that could have been a Repos game.
Yeah, maybe.
But it's a
It's
yellow
funny.
game.
I'm
It's such
pretty
a small community.
these two, so.
Yes. So I also have a game with Funforge, which will be released in US by Passport Games, which is Pocket Madness. It was presented during the last Indianapolis show, but the release comes now in a few days. The game in the Cthulhu atmosphere. And I have also with Matago 2 releases. One is named Dice Stars. It's a small dice game in the same family of small games like Quicks or that kind of things.
Okay.
And we also have a small expansion for Cyclades, which is named Monuments.
Okay.
Nice. And you have boxes. You have actual games to show, right? Like right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Show them
Because he was showing them off earlier, so we gotta see them again.
There's Pantheon. There's Pantheon for us Englishers.
Oh,
this is Kanagawa.
It's so beautiful.
That's
so beautiful.
I'm really happy with the artwork which has been done and all the editorial work which has been done on this game.
That's wonderful. It stands out. It's very beautiful.
And this one.
I've heard such great things. This is right up my alley. I've watched a couple of reviews of it now, and I'm so excited to try King Domino. It looks so much fun.
Yeah.
Right. That's the one that everyone's. That's the one Theo wants too, right?
A buzz.
Yeah. He was like, I get the first copy.
And I actually got to play Pocket Madness with with Scott Morris. He was in town for an event, and he brought his copy of it from Passport Games, and it was so much fun. And I remember near the end of the game, it looked like he was going to win, but I had slowly been collecting cards, and there's no hand limit. So you're collecting this. I had this fan. I had like this huge fan of cards. And then right at the end, I go bop, 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 bop. And I'm pulling the special cards, and I'm playing abilities and turning them in. And I whooped them, and it was awesome. It was so much fun.
So that's a definite sale for you, Suzanne.
It's such a quick, light little, I don't know what mechanism you'd call that, where you're collecting. I mean, it's sets kind of rummy almost, I guess. It's kind of a rummy style.
I think we can say that. Yes, it's a kind of rummy game. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a melding.
Mm-hmm, yeah, totally. And it was very entertaining.
Awesome.
Anyway.
Cool. So Theo, let's go on to some tips at Essen. Let's start from like very practical to that everybody could use, then all the way down to designer tips. So we'll start on the practical level. What is your number one practical tip that you would give to somebody who's going to Essen for the first time?
Not so easy. I think I will say drink a lot of water.
Good one.
And don't eat German food.
And don't eat German food here.
Don't eat German food. Drink a lot of water. All right.
Shots fired. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Why? Why is that a thing? Why do we need to drink a lot of water and avoid German food?
When you're on a show like Essen or stuff like that, you will typically go drink a lot of alcohol at night. Yeah. Drink not so good, very greasy food at night. It's not so easy to eat healthy food during a show.
True.
But I think that's one of the key to not being totally wasted on the last day.
True. All right.
That's key.
You have to sleep a lot before going.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a real practical one as well. I mean, both of those tips, I needed those last year when I got to go to Essen. So good advice there. I'm going to turn this question to Bruno, and now maybe tune it a little towards designers. If now you can just go up to Theo and say, I'd like to show you a game, but would you have any advice for new designers coming out to Essen? What should they do so that they can show their games to publishers? Any advice that you would give new designers?
The first thing that everybody has to know is that the publishers are really open to new designers, never mind if they are experimented or not. That's the first thing. But the second thing is that the best way to get appointments is to try to contact the publisher much more weeks before Essen, and not to go on the fair because there are no more spots to receive people.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, the best way is to send a mail with a very short abstract. I would say not more than 1 page, and 80% of this page must be images, pictures, and with some really short sentences focusing on what is really special on your game. I would say something like that. What you could find in on the rear of a box, something like that, for example.
Right.
You describe your games like that, and that's all. And if it triggers an interest in your publisher, he will give you an appointment for sure, because he wants to know. It will be very easy for him to know if it's absolutely not for them. So you don't waste time, and you will focus on some efficient appointments.
Amazing advice.
It's all about efficiency. All about efficiency.
Yeah.
Man.
So going back to Theo, you know, I've been to a number of U.S. conventions, as I'm sure you have, and Bruno as well. But I've never been to Essen, and I have heard that from a visitor's point of view, it's a little bit different, maybe a little more spread out, smaller spaces, etc. What can, like, if I were to go to Essen next year, what should I plan for as far as you know, talking to publishers, buying games, finding space to play games?
It's not so easy to find a place to play games during the show, because very often all the tables are full of players. We see players playing on the ground, because there's no so many space and spot to place. One good way when you are just a visitors to this kind of fair is just to get to the floor and to play whatever you can play. The best thing is to walk and say, "Oh, a free table, let's play this game."
Or another thing you can do is to go on the fair half a day, just pick the games you want, and then you go back to the hotel and you play at the hotel.
Are the lines really long? Is it pretty easy? I know, you know, it's something like a Gen Con. Oftentimes, you know, hot new games will be limited, or you'll kind of dole them out, you know, 100 for the first day, 100 for the second day. Is that the similar in Essen, or do you guys tend to handle it differently? Theo?
I think most of the publishers have plenty of copies of the games, big publisher. So in our case, we got plenty of Panthéon. So we might be sold out, and we hope we will be, but not on the first day. Some publisher will release very small quantities of games, but most of them, you can grab a copy of a game on Friday. It's okay for that. If you really, really want a game and it's a small publisher, you have to go on the first day. Like people like Japan Brand or stuff like that, very often are sold out just because of the pre-orders.
And
yes, small publisher, small quantities.
And not only that, Theo, there are also a lot of publishers who have limited quantities just because these quantities came by plane, and the remaining boxes are in the boat, in fact.
Sure.
Yeah. So a lot of air shipping issues, and a lot of companies that might be, especially the foreign companies that come from Japan or whatever, if they're coming over to Europe, their stock might not be there. So.
But you know, a lot of European games are produced in China, so
right. Exactly. So Bruno, let's talk about tips for designers, even beyond just making that initial meeting and like what you're describing as a sell sheet to your initial pitch by email. What are some things that you think can help a designer be more successful when they actually meet up face to face with that publisher at a place like Essen?
To be able to explain his game very fast and not to go in all the details. Being able to focus on what makes your game special, because a publisher will have a lot of meetings. They will see games, etc. So you have to capture his attention with something special. You know your product better than anybody, so you don't have to make a demonstration with all the details, in my opinion.
Okay, can you give us an example from maybe one of your well-known games like Cyclades or something else where what was a sentence that you said to the publishers at Metago that said, yeah, they want this
Wow.
now because you said it?
Cyclades is not a good example because because the story is fun.
Okay,
Because
let's go.
if you want, I can tell you a story.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
story time.
Your stories are always good, so let's go.
No, but because Cyclades has been published by Matago because of Senji. You know my game Senji?
Mhm.
Yes.
At the beginning, Matagot wanted to publish Senji, and for some reasons, it went to Asmodee. Okay, but Isham was really upset not to have the opportunity to publish this game.
Sure.
And I promised him that the next big game I will do, I will present him before anybody.
Right.
Nice.
So it's not a game that I had to present on a fair.
Right.
Yeah, he was
Presenting
already wanting
games
it.
Yeah.
in a fair is a very special thing because you have it's noisy. You don't have much time. People are tired. They don't. So you have to make the most effort to capture attention. Always that. But what kind of thing? For example, King Domino.
Right.
When I presented King Domino to Blue Orange, I presented with this title, and the title was the game. That means that you have to become the king of the dominoes, making a kingdom with dominoes.
Right.
and it's so strange that people give you their attention, and then you can show some things, etc.
Right. It's
But-
like the hook.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, let's continue down this line of thought of the hook and what kind of games publishers are looking for. We have Theo here, who I know sits in and hears many pitches. I'm curious, could you help us maybe understand, for instance, Bruno said, sometimes a publisher can very quickly hear and know it's not for them or it is their kind of game. What kind of games does Repost look for? What are some games that people should not be pitching you, and what are some games that you are hunting for?
We are not the easiest companies for this kind of stuff.
No.
I don't have a real editorial line. In fact, we publish a very large range of games, from Ghost Stories to Cash and Guns to Seven Wonders to Duel to Time's Up in France.
Yeah.
That's not so easy, but right now what we are looking for is innovation. We really want to have games. When you play your first game of this game, you'll be like, wow, that's I never played a game like that before. And not just because we have special component stuff, very silly-like. We published Dr. Panic.
Mhm.
We got plenty of very silly new stuff, and we like that. But when you play Seven Wonders Duel for the first time, even if it's only cards and nothing very new from the component, when you play it, it's like, wow, I never played something like that before. And we're really looking for this kind of sensation, which is not so easy to describe to designers. So
until you find it, until you have it, then all of a sudden it can stand out. But that's great advice. You're looking for innovation there. So,
Right.
Suze.
Well, we can keep on talking about Essen and how you pitch to publishers, but I know that we have a question from one of our viewers, Gunther, and Bruno. He wants to know if you know when Yamatai is going to be released.
I know.
And can you share that?
Yes. It's the same. It's for beginning of next year, probably for end of February in France.
Mhm.
So spring in the US.
And I'm sorry, I'm not familiar off the top of my head. What publisher is that with?
It's a Days of Wonder. Sorry.
Okay. So it'll be Days of Wonders released next year.
Yes, exactly. And I hope that we will catch the same kind of players than Five Tribes.
Okay.
I think
Very exciting.
That's
Very
super exciting.
I
And
think
what-
that if you like Five Tribes, I hope you will like Yamatai.
Well, I like Five Tribes and I like Longhorn, so I'm excited about Yamatai.
Perfect.
Now there's another game on your list, Suzanne. You got to add that to your list. Go write it down.
Mhm.
Oh, like it was already. Well, we were when I found out who the guests were going to be on the show. I was looking at my game collection. Oh my gosh, I have so many Cathala games in my collection. It's just out of control. I mean, I even have the special Haru Ichiban from Essen a couple of years ago that they only did 200 laser woodcut versions.
Yes, the wood version.
Yes, the thin wood version. I have that because I made it. Like I asked my friend who went to Essen. I'm like, that is the one thing I want from Essen this year, and I got it. Anyway, and then what about? So already we haven't even gotten Pantheon yet, but what about more in the future of Seven Wonders Duel?
At this time, nothing is scheduled.
Yeah.
We have some ideas, but we have not begun any work on that at this time.
Yeah. But back in Repos, we are working currently on a new expansion for Seven Wonders, the main game, called Armada. That's Antoine bring to us. We don't know at all when it's going to be released, but we are working on it. But it was very important for us to say to the people and to the player, okay, we published Seven Wonders Duel, and that's a new thing. So we want an expansion for it very quick. And to say, okay, that's not just the 2 players version of Seven Wonders, that's a new thing. And we'll publish the expansion. But in the other hand, we don't want people to think we are bored of Seven Wonders and that we will not publish any more expansion. That is not true. We are pretty excited about Seven Wonders 2. So right now we are focused on Seven Wonders and we'll come back to Duel, I think, as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Cool.
But we need time to work on it, and for Antoine, he needs to have time enough to work on the basic game and the expansion without being bored himself.
Sure.
So but he needs time to do other things. Also.
Yeah. So Theo, at Essen, do you guys have a special meeting room? Do you have a booth that has a meeting room inside the booth? Because I've heard lots of different stories about how the publishers meet at Essen that might be different than how they meet in the Americas.
Actually, we have 3 meetings room on our booth directly. One for the sales, one for marketing, and one for me, the development team, me and Thomas. So it's directly on our booth, which is way easier when we have a break to just go and to see other games, but way more noisy. So
right. So you get the pros and cons of being live on the shop floor, and then also you're live on the shop floor, so it's going to be loud.
Yeah.
Do you find that like when we were at Gen Con, we just kind of met in the open gaming area? Is that more effective for you, or do you like having an enclosed space, Theo?
It's way more comfortable to have my own space because it's the best way to not looking for a table prior to have your meeting, which is possible during Gen Con, but almost impossible at Essen because all the tables are full.
Right. So, I mean, hint next year, Daryl, we just rent out the floor of a whole hotel.
Well, or just do a Meeple syrup booth, and then we'll just always schedule pitches at the Meeple syrup booth.
And the Meeple syrup booth has no product; it's just one
No,
big meeting.
it's just a meeting spot. People can just come hang out and do their meetings.
I like that was a neat thing at Gen Con this year. It's the first year that we did meetings in the ACD room.
Yeah, that room was nice.
And that was really nice because the publishers could get a little. It's almost like it fit like a 6x4 table, and there were 6 of us in the room at once pitching, and it was just much more quieter and relaxed. And then when you're on the floor, because the publishers always get asked questions from people who walk by, like, when can I get this and what's in the box and that kind of thing. So
yeah,
cool.
The ACD room was much better than I did one pitch at Gen Con on top of a trash can. That was horrible. And literally people walked up. People walked up and were throwing things in the trash can in the middle of my pitch. They would reach around me and put things in the garbage can.
You weren't pitching Mayday a game, were you, at the time?
No, that would have been
appropriate. That would have been appropriate with their trash can game.
No, I was pitching an expansion to Artana. So So, well, that expansion didn't get picked up, and I can say never pitch on top of a garbage can. So, on that on that note, Bruno, I'm curious. You've been to American shows, and we're talking about kind of the contrast and giving people a bit of a picture of Essen. Could you describe for you what you see are some of the differences? I mean, when I was there, I noticed even just different type of crowd, different type of atmosphere. Different types of booths. Could you describe a little bit of some of the differences of Essen compared to some of the American shows that you have attended?
For me, the main difference is the behavior of the players. For me, frankly speaking, it's much more fun to go to Indianapolis, for example, than to go to Essen. People are more friendly. Really, and it's possible to demonstrate a game without finishing the game, just to show how it works, and people are happy with that, and that means that you can demonstrate it to a lot of different players. Just they have the feeling of the game. They don't need to do all the full for big games, all the full game. In Germany, if you do that. It's not possible. So you have to go until the end. We have more competitors than
Competitive. They want to finish the whole game to see not just how it plays, but if they won or not.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So
for me, yes.
Go ahead, Bruno.
No. It's just my feeling. So.
Well, it's interesting because I think about, as an to publishers, or it's, just visitors trying to either demo games, like, is it weird if an American comes and says, okay, I just want a 5-minute demo and then walk away or anything? What mistakes do you see people make?
I think the main mistakes from designers to publisher is to pitch games that doesn't fit editorial line from a publisher. Like, you don't go to an Istari meeting pitching a very small family fun games. And you don't go to ABBA pitching hardcore games with a lot of downtime and a lot of stuff. And very often people come to my office and say, oh, I have this small trick-taking, very usual games. And I'm like, no, we're Ripples. We're trying to find innovation. And what you are bringing me is not innovative at all. And sometimes that's a very easy way to make a publisher think you will not bring some good games to them. So the main mistake is to not target your appointment. As a non-designer and non-editor point of view, I think the main mistake is to not play the games that you absolutely want to buy, because if you don't know where are the games you want to buy, you will get lost and you will never buy them. So.
And I actually have another question on kind of the business front. How much publisher deals are made at Essen? How many deals are made from U.S. publishers to license European games, or vice versa there?
With Ripples, we never sign a game during a show, because that's not how we work, and we really want to have our playtest group feedbacks and to be on a very just us way when we want to sign a game. So we never conclude a deal during a show, because that's the best way to be not so happy with a game after all. Very often I play a game during a show and it's like, oh, this game is amazing, I want it. I ask for a prototype, and back at the office the game is not so good anymore. Sometimes because the designer is not with us anymore. And it's sometimes a big deal, because some designers are like very, very good to design games. And just because the second game is not so good than the first one. So we never sign a game during a show, never. And we never. But I think plenty of companies are doing that. So it's not so easy to know how many deals are made during Essen.
No, thank you. I think that was a really great insight. Thank you.
That's really interesting too. I like your point, Theo, about not signing immediately, that we've got to take it home and put it through its paces first, because I think that can make for a better decision on your part too. Bruno, talking about pitching and designing and things like that, how do you specifically set up your pitches? Do you plan them? Do you write a script? I know you're an actor as well. Do you just kind of plonk pieces down and go with it? You've been doing this for so long. How do you do it? What's the Bruno Cathala method? I want to know.
Improvisation.
Oui.
No, but it's you know, when I present a game to a publisher, it's not my first game. It's not the first time I play it. That means that I played it a lot of times before with a lot of different teams. That means that playtesting after playtesting session, I have to explain again and again this game. That means that the more we go on the development process, the best I am in presenting the game. So when I come in front of a publisher, it's quite natural, in fact, because I have all the experience of all of my playtesting session with different players.
Right.
And
so playtesting will help your pitch.
Yeah, for sure, because each time I have new player in front of me, I have to capture their attention to explain the game very fast, the fastest as possible, and keep them in front of the game. So I try to do the same with publishers. But the thing, what I do now, for now 5 or 6 years, I think, I don't present any new game to publisher during a fair. Because in my opinion, for me, it's not efficient. I prefer to present them the game maybe 2 months, 3 months before the show.
Sure.
And then go on discussion, like Theo said, they need time to play test themselves, etc. And if I have a contract, I will sign it during the fair, but just because it's the time to close the affair now. You see?
That's a really, I like that. I like the Bruno method. I'm going to subscribe to the Bruno method.
For example, this year, I know that I will sign 2 contracts during the Essen fair, but it's just because the work started with this publisher some weeks or months ago.
Right.
So we go to the conclusion now.
That's excellent. Well, this leads me into my question for Theo. I mean, yes, designers are pitching games and they're probably buying a bunch of games, but there's also a little more going on at Essen. There's a few beers and a few drinks and networking and connecting. I want to ask you some tips. I want to know where's the best, watering hole. What's your suggestion? Best place to grab a drink? And also, it's tough to find food. So any tip on like a good secret Theo Essen food spot, drink spot? What are you saying? Where do people need to go?
Actually, that's not so easy because I don't think I eat so much during Essen.
No.
That's how you stay
pretty exhausted, and very often we just eat some sandwiches and garbage during the day. And I'm so tired during the evening and sometimes so drunk that I don't eat that.
That's fair. All right. Or even another one I forgot is, where do you play games?
You're totally true with the networking stuff, and I think that's one of the main mission for designers going to Essen for the first time or not for the first time. I very often, and most of the French and most of the publisher go and hang out at the Atlantic, at the lobby of the Atlantic, which is very, very, very near the show, so it's easy. And my main advice is play it cool. Don't try to interrupt people and to say, "Hey, I'm a designer, let's be friends." That's not the best way to network. But just going to this kind of party tonight and to meet some people and to discuss with them, it's very easy. Most of the publishers are very easy to talk about and to talk with, very abordable. So just go to the Atlantic and try to play some game with publisher. That's the best way.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're making games, there's gonna be lots of opportunities over the years to try to pitch your game. So more focus on building those relationships, get to know each other, and then you can ascribe to the Bruno method of sending your games beforehand, because then you already know them. So
Right, exactly. I think that's wise.
so you heard it here. If you want to hang out with the French crowd, the Atlantic. I experienced that last year. I had no idea that it was a French takeover, and I realized how bad my French was.
You also have
The French
you
taking
also
over
have
Germany?
you also have the same kind of things in the Bredney Hotel, which is not so far from the fair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
But
Good to...
just for French, all people are welcome to come.
Yeah, I played with everyone. I didn't understand half of what was being said, but I still had a great time. So,
So, Bruno, selfishly, because I've never had the opportunity to speak to you before, although I'm good friends with Dan King, who I think you know quite well, and he has a T-shirt. He has a T-shirt of your face on it, so there's that.
I noticed that during the Gen Con. I didn't know that this T-shirt was existing. So
yeah, you should be getting royalties off of that.
Yeah, man, that's your
nothing.
that's your likeness. You should actually get paid.
Yes, it was fun. I went to the booth of the guys who were selling the T-shirt, and I asked them if I could have one.
There you go.
Did
And they
give
say
you one?
yes.
Oh,
It's
good.
$20. I say no.
Imagine.
I want to have one, please. It's my face, it's my name. So maybe you could give me one. So.
Can you imagine if they said no? It's $25.
At the beginning, they say no, but I ask them if they had the rights. And they say, yes.
Oh my!
They answer me yes, but I say, oh, it's fun because I don't know that.
Oh my goodness gracious! I cannot believe that story. Holy
then,
cow!
Then they offer me a T-shirt, and it was closed. It's okay.
It's all good. It's all good.
Well, okay. Well, away from T-shirts, which who knew? A good story. What about games? I was going through my collection, and I found my very old copy of Boomtown. Yes, it's in English, right? That's when he goes in, and it's long out of print, and it made me think most of your games stay in print. But are there any older games that you would either want to revisit today or just see republished, and kind of maybe talk a little bit about that? Okay.
Yeah, for sure. There are some games that have stayed, I would say, under the radar, and I love this game. So if I have opportunities to publish them again, I would be happy. And for example, at this time, I'm working again on a game which was named Drôle de Zèbre in French, Funny Zebra, I think, in English. I'm not sure that it has been published in English. Mm-hmm. It's a 2-player game. And I'm working with a small French new publisher to publish it next year. I'm also working again on another 2-player game, which is Atlas and Zeus, which was published 8-10 years ago by Jeux Descartes, which is a publisher which doesn't exist anymore. So, yeah. And the one thing I would really, really love is to see my first game published again, which is Sans foi ni loi in French. That means lawless in American.
Mm.
And so if someone, I would like to work it again, because, in many of the games I worked, maybe I created 10 or 12 years ago, if I still love them, but the market has changed, the gamers have changed, I have changed, and there are always some things that I would like to do a little differently.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
if I have opportunities, I will go on that way.
All right, publishers, you heard it here. You have an opportunity. Lawless.
Yeah.
Bruno's ready. He's ready. So let's
Hey,
make
I am.
bring it back. That's good. Theo, for you, what old game would you guys like to bring back? Is there anything that Repos has said, man, I wish we could get the rights to that so we could do that because we haven't seen a game like that in forever?
I don't think we have anything in mind right now.
Nothing in Bruno's? No, nothing in Bruno's.
We totally have to discuss that during Essen, but
Yeah.
we bring back Cash and Guns.
Yeah.
2 years ago, which was the first game that Repos ever published. It was pretty fun to try to find what was not so actual, not so 2D games on Cash and Guns, and to change that. And because Ludovic now is a professional game designer and got 10 years of experiment, Repos got 10 years of experiment, it was pretty interesting to see and to try to make the game better and to make the game fit. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, Theo just mentioned Ludovic. Bruno has made many amazing games with Ludovic and many others. And so I kind of want to twist this a little bit to designer talk while we have you here as well. I'm curious. You've worked with many people. You're open to working with new people. You obviously keep coming back with Ludovic and a few others. Any tips that you give to people when they're designing games? How to find a co-designer, and then how to make that relationship work well?
So, for me, working with someone is a good way to refresh your mind. Because, if you stay alone, I think that during time you will always stay in your comfort zone.
Right.
So it's a good way to explore some direction that you will never have gone alone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting. Then you have to have some common idea, because if you are too different, it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
That means that you have to accept sometimes to cancel some ideas that you really like to go in the way of your friend, but he also has to do the same. You have to find a good balance between that. And if you manage to find the good people, it's also a way to go faster, because you have an idea which gives him an idea, and etc. And discussing together, you improve the development, and it goes really, really faster. So I really like that. And the other thing, I have also two other things which are important for me, and which explain why I like to work with other designers. In that, for me, creating means doubting. And doubting with someone else, it's much more comfortable than doubting alone.
For sure.
And the other thing is being successful. When you have a success, when you are alone at home, you say, yeah. And when you share a success with a friend, it's why.
Yeah.
So I
awesome.
prefer that.
Does it?
Great advice.
That's I love that. I love that. And that's so, in some ways, that just feels like such a board game thing, because we're so community oriented, and just, in general as a community, just there's a lot of support and mutual admiration, and just that very in keeping with that.
But my main skill is to find people who have a big talent and oblige them to put my name on the box.
I hear that. Absolutely.
Theo, if you don't mind, I just am curious about the industry from end to end, and I think maybe you might have some perspective. I'm actually interested in the printing of the games, and as a consumer, as a hobbyist, you start hearing about these games because designers like Bruno are so open in social media. You kind of get to hear about games really early, and then it just seems like this big long process to get the game into your hands. And I'm curious, just once the game is done, tested and all this other stuff, and it goes to print, how long do you typically expect a game to take to get printed? Because sometimes I see games like I'll see a publisher say, okay, the game's done, and then we'll have copies at this fair like Essen or Gen Con. I'm looking at time, I'm like, wow, that seems really, really quick. So, you know, does Repost, do you guys have a consistent printing partner that you work with? And then how long do you typically expect to see a game take from, you know, we're ready to here's your games?
Yeah, it depends of many things. The main is where we are building the game. Most of the time we try to work with European factories from Germany or from Poland. But as soon as we put some plastics on game, we are almost obliged to work with China because they are way cheaper for plastics. Concerned because we will still try to work with European factories, even if it's a little bit more expensive, because game will come to our office and to our warehouse way sooner, and because we want to work with European factories because it's ecologically better for us. But it depends on that. Also, sometimes we will have a game on our warehouse, but we'll wait the perfect timing to publish it. And for example, Asmodee, which is our distributor for France, and for many other countries, but for France, like to have the game at least 1 month prior to the release date in order to have all our marketing and selling team to play the game, to discuss the game, and to be sure that if there is any problem with the game, we can solve it for the release date. If the game comes and we have to release it, and there is one problem with, I don't know, a pawn of or something with the cardboard or something like that, we can do it. If we have 1 month, it's way more easier for us to solve that problem. But very often, you have to have in mind at least 3 months, sometimes more, but at least 3 months between when we just press, okay, let's go, and the time when we can say, hey, let's buy the game on your favorite hobby shop.
That's awesome. I mean, it just, from an outsider's point of view, to me, that just seems so quick in many ways for some of these games, especially some of the games that are more elaborate. That sounds impressive to me, 3 months, but that's very cool. Thanks for that insight.
The biggest delay is only shipping, because printing, for us, very often doing very easy games to produce, not so many miniatures, very often only cards. It's not hard to produce. So we just have to bring the right timing with the factories and say, okay, we want to publish that many copies of this game and we want to have it for this day. But very often it's pretty quick.
That's cool.
So we're coming about time to wrap up, but we'll get a couple more questions in just because we have you here. So Bruno, this is the Essen time of year for all of us designers. But what comes next for you in terms of other conventions and things that might not be as well known as Essen? So you've already mentioned Nuremberg, but there's other ones. Tell me where else you go in the European game scene.
In Europe, the first convention I go each year is Cannes, the Festival des Jeux de Cannes. It's the main French convention. So it's end of February. And during this convention, there is the reward, the special French award, which is not as famous as the Spiel, but one day it will be. So it's really an important convention. All the designers are there, all the publishers are there, and for foreign designers, it could be also a good way to meet all the French industry, in fact.
And it's in Cannes, so that's quite nice.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It's a nice place.
So then in France, there are a lot of conventions. Quite each week, you have a convention somewhere in France. All are very nice convention, but they have not the same importance, in fact. Okay. So for me, this one, you need to be. I need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then you have some big convention in Lille, in the north of France, in Toulouse, in Paris, but they are not so important. I also like a festival which is close Nantes, in the west of France. But for me, the three convention I have to go each year, it's Cannes, Indianapolis, Essen.
Okay.
This
Excellent.
year, I will try for the first time to be at the BGG-Con in Dallas.
Oh, this year you're going
Awesome.
to BGG-Con.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
Yay!
Yay. Who else is going to be there? Not me, but Suze, are you going to be there?
Yep, absolutely.
And Daryl, are you going to be there?
I'll be there.
Yeah.
I will come with Adrien Martineau from Days of Wonder.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And we will have a prototype of Yamatai.
Hey.
Oh, Susan and I call shotgun.
Definitely. We're in.
We're in.
Excellent. Excellent. And Theo, when are you coming over next to the Americas?
I think it will be for Gathering next year. No BGCon for me, unfortunately.
Okay. So will it be Gathering next year then?
Yeah.
April? Okay. And Bruno, are you coming to Gathering next year or no?
I don't know yet, but maybe.
Okay.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, maybe.
The maybe. I know, right?
I will see. It will depend of Days of Wonder, I think, but I will see.
Okay. And Suze,
Hopefully.
are you ever planning to come?
I'm not an invitee to that one.
Well, I mean,
You should bug those Dice Tower folk.
yeah, exactly.
I'll put that on my list of to-dos, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice,
But I
nice.
did tell you. Did I tell you, Suze, that I will be at Dice Tower Con next year?
Yes, we've talked about that, and I'm ecstatic. I think the thing about Dice Tower Con and BGG Con that is so nice, as Theo and Bruno are talking about the business of Essen and the business of Gen Con. BGG Con, what I hear from all my design and publishing friends is BGG, Dice Tower Con, they're nice because you can play games, and take a breath. So hopefully you'll like Dice Tower.
Yes, and really enjoy to just be able to play games, even if it's prototypes or published games, never mind. But it will be very nice for me to have this opportunity just to be with friends from America or never, and just play without being designer, etc. We are all friends and we play together, and that's good.
Well, we'll play some games, Bruno, at BGG. I look forward to it.
I'm sure.
I gotta ask Theo one more question because I can't believe it didn't come up because it's one of my favorite games of the year. We've been just asking you designer questions, but we need to talk a little Sea of Clouds before we wrap
nobody
up.
plays that game. Nobody likes that game.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
I know,
So
right?
beautiful, such a great game. Tell us a little bit about it. Will there be any like promo cards at Essen? Can you tell us a little bit about that design, the story behind you making that game, and then if anyone can get some promos at Essen?
Yeah, it's not so easy for me to be clear about my position about this kind of stuff because I'm sort of a project manager for repos. I'm doing rules development with repos, but all my free times, I'm a game designer for myself, trying to push and to pitch games to sometimes repos, sometimes to other companies. And Sea of Clouds is my second game published, just after Shinobi Wata, which was published by Purple Brain in France and Yellow in the US.
Yep.
Sea of Clouds is also published by Yellow. And yeah, we will have some goodies for
goodies.
Oh,
excellent.
I like goodies. Goodies.
Two new captain board, just new artworks, and
Beautiful.
3 which are the goodie of love and friendship. So that's a kitten, a unicorn, and a love ray, and that's a way to play the game.
You said love ray, right? Like a love gun. Nice.
Yeah, I love them.
That's awesome.
That's the best ever.
Love gun. Okay.
Who's up for questions? I'm laughing too hard. Suze, there we go.
Oh, well, I'm still stuck on Love Gun too. Bruno, you're obviously the wealth of knowledge and experience that you have as a designer and in the industry overall is really valuable to people. And, you know, obviously we want you to enjoy your time as much as possible at conventions. But, you know, I know that just first of all, players and fans like myself, but then also other designers who want to, you know, ask you questions. What's the best way and for them to approach you, or where's the best place for them to find you? Is it at conventions in the lobby of the Atlantic, or is it online, or should nobody ever talk to you? You just go away.
No. But I think that it's really very easy to approach me because I always answer, always. That means that people write me. I received some projects each week, some mails from. Never mind if it's by my personal mail or messenger or BGG on the mail in Board Game Geek, etc. Each week, each day, I receive questions, and I always take time to answer. Always. So, and then during a convention. Now in some convention like Essen, it's very difficult to have time because I have a schedule which is really full. Okay, but then at night during a playtesting session, etc., I'm always open to discuss. There is absolutely no problem, and don't hesitate. It's a pleasure for me to share ideas and discussions around games. It's my passion, so no problem.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Excellent. And Theo, last question for you before we shut the show down. If people want to get a hold of you for either designing or pitching your games for repos, how do they do that? And what's your last piece of advice to designers?
To join me, it's very easy. Just send me an email. My email is public on the repos website. And just like Bruno, I try. Bruno is not trying, he's succeed. But I'm trying to answer to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We actually don't accept pitch games pitching by email because we get so many of them that it's impossible to answer.
Sure.
But it's very easy to send me an email and to see me on a convention and to pitch me a game. And my last advice would be something like that. The game hobby is very small in one perspective. So it's very easy to join me. It's very easy to send an email to Adrien Martineau from Days, to Régis from Libellude, to guys like that. And we will always give opportunities to any game designer. So don't be afraid to send me an email if you want to pitch me a game. It's my job to look at them. It's okay if it's not good. It's okay if it's amazing. We'll always look at it, and always try to answer to everybody.
See, you heard it there, folks. You have an opportunity to pitch your best game to Theo, and he'll look at anything. He even looks at games from me. So, so you have a chance. So, with that said, I just want to say a big thank you to Bruno and Theo for taking the time to chat with us. I hope it's a wonderful Essen show for you each. I'm sure it will be. You have great games. I also want to just give a quick plug for next week. Suze will be back with us, and we also have special guests Mike Fitzgerald and Scott Gaeta, and we'll be chatting kind of post-Essen, what games seem to do well, and what things they saw, because they're both going to be at Essen. So we asked the Europeans ahead of time, and now we'll ask some of the Americans afterwards how well Europe hosted some of our American guests. Till then, I just want to encourage you, keep making great games, and we look forward to playing your game soon. Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.